Picture this: the bright lights of Arrowhead Stadium, a sea of red jerseys roaring in unison and across the field. The New York Giants striding in with a chip on their shoulders and nothing to lose. On paper, it was supposed to be just another regular Week 3 matchup in the 2025 NFL season. But what unfolded that night left fans stunned, players furious, and families torn apart, from explosive touchdowns to sideline meltdowns. This game wasn't just about football. It became a stage for betrayal, accusations, and heart-pounding drama that spilled far beyond the field. Cameras caught arguments that shouldn't have been public, teammates clashing in ways no one expected, and even shocking words from families in the stands that made their way onto social media within minutes. By the end of the night, what should have been a straightforward highlight reel turned into a saga of loyalty, pride, and raw emotion. Fans are calling it the most dramatic NFL showdown of the season. Not because of the score, but because of the chaos that erupted behind it. Stick around, because this is more than just a game. Recaps a storm of secrets, rivalries, and shocking confrontations you won't believe. The night began with tension so thick you could almost see it rising off the turf like steam. The Kansas City Chiefs, led by their superstar quarterback, walked out onto the field with the confidence of reigning kings. But across from them, the New York Giants were burning with a quiet fury. They had been mocked all week, called underdogs with no chance. And some analysts even laughed at their coach's bold prediction that they would shock the world. Fans had tuned in expecting a one-sided affair, but within minutes, it was clear this game was going to be nothing short of chaos. The first quarter exploded with drama when the Chiefs scored a quick touchdown, their quarterback smirking as he pointed toward the Giants' sideline. Cameras zoomed in on Giants players fuming, their defensive captain barking at teammates with veins popping in his neck. "Don't let him disrespect us like that," he shouted, his voice carrying over the roar of the crowd. Moments later, the Giants struck back with a long bomb down the field, a play so electrifying that even Chiefs fans gasped. The touchdown wasn't just about points, it was a declaration of war. And then the sidelines erupted. Chiefs offensive coordinator was seen shouting at his own quarterback, accusing him of ignoring the play call. "You're doing this for yourself, not the team," he yelled, while the quarterback snapped back. "Don't tell me how to run this game." The cameras caught every word, and social media lit up instantly. Fans were shocked. Was the Chiefs' dynasty starting to crack right before their eyes? Meanwhile, in the stands, the drama spread to the families. The Chiefs' quarterback's brother was spotted clapping sarcastically after the Giants' touchdown, muttering something about this team falling apart nearby. The Giants' star receiver's mother stood up, screaming at Chiefs fans who taunted her son. "Watch your mouth, he's the reason you're scared right now," she shouted, her voice shaking with both pride and rage. People around them pulled out phones, capturing every second of the family feud on the field. Emotions were reaching a boiling point. The Giants' defense began playing with reckless abandon, delivering hits that had Chiefs players wincing. One tackle sparked a small scuffle when a Chiefs lineman shoved a Giants defender to the ground after the whistle. Helmets clashed, coaches stormed the field, and referees had to separate players before things spiraled completely out of control. Fans in the stadium were on their feet, half cheering, half horrified, as the rivalry turned personal. But the most shocking twist of the first half came late in the second quarter. The Chiefs' star wide receiver dropped a crucial pass in the red zone, and instead of brushing it off, he slammed his helmet to the ground and screamed at the quarterback. "That's on you. Your throw was trash," he yelled. The quarterback fired back. "Catch the ball and stop blaming me." The entire exchange was caught on the stadium jumbotron, and the boos rained down. Chiefs fans couldn't believe what they were seeing, their heroes tearing each other apart in front of the world. The Giants seized the chaos like predators smelling blood. Their quarterback, who had been criticized for weeks, suddenly played with a fiery confidence. He threw a touchdown that tied the game, then turned toward the Chiefs sideline and shouted, "You're not untouchable anymore." The Chiefs' defensive coordinator exploded, slamming his clipboard. while players shouted over each other in a haze of frustration. On the Giants' sideline, though, the drama was far from peaceful. Their head coach, usually calm and collected, lashed out at his offensive coordinator for calling a risky play earlier. "You're trying to be a hero, but you're going to get us killed," he snapped. The coordinator fired back, "You're too scared to win big. That's your problem." Assistants had to step in, whispering frantically to calm them down. But the cameras had already caught the entire blow-up, and as if the tension on the field wasn't enough, word spread quickly that a heated argument had broken out in the Chiefs' locker room just before halftime. Insiders claimed that two star players nearly came to blows, with teammates holding them apart. "You don't care about winning? You just care about yourself," one shouted, while the other roared back, "I've carried this team longer than you've been here." The fight was so loud that reporters outside the tunnel could hear every word. Back in the stadium, fans were divided. Chiefs supporters were biting their nails, torn between defending their team and admitting the cracks were undeniable. Giants fans were euphoric, chanting louder with every Chiefs mistake, but also whispering about whether their team could keep the fire burning or if they would collapse under pressure. The emotional weight wasn't just on the players, it was on everyone connected to them. Wives were spotted covering their faces in the stands. Children clung to parents as tensions mounted. And former players watching from home tweeted out warnings that this could be the game that changes everything. Just before halftime, the Chiefs managed a field goal to take a slim lead, but there was no celebration. The quarterback jogged off the field with his head down. The receivers stormed straight to the bench without a word, and the coach buried his face in his play sheet. On the Giants' side, smiles were mixed with sharp words. Their quarterback shouted encouragement to teammates, but behind him, the defensive captain pulled aside two players and said quietly, "Don't trust him, he'll throw you under the bus if things go wrong." The stadium buzzed with nervous energy as halftime loomed. Fans expected fireworks in the locker rooms, but no one was prepared for just how deep the fractures were about to run. Cameras caught glimpses of Chiefs players avoiding eye contact with each other, while Giants assistants huddled nervously, whispering about controlling the chaos. The tension was so heavy, so personal, that you could feel this wasn't just about winning or losing a football game anymore. It was about pride, betrayal, and survival as the teams disappeared down the tunnels. The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and boos. The score was close, but the drama was closer. And in that moment, everyone knew the second half wasn't just going to be a game. It was going to be a battlefield where friendships, loyalties, and reputations would be tested like never before. And that's where the real storm was just beginning to build. One that would leave both teams and their families forever changed. The halftime break did little to cool the fire, if anything. It poured gasoline on it. Whispers from both locker rooms leaked almost instantly, with reporters tweeting fragments of arguments that had supposedly erupted behind closed doors. The Chiefs quarterback was accused of throwing a water bottle against the wall, shouting that no one respected his leadership anymore. Meanwhile, the Giants' defensive captain allegedly told teammates he was tired of covering for mistakes, warning that if they screw up again, "I'm calling them out in front of everyone." The tension wasn't just boiling, it was about to spill over in front of millions. When the teams returned to the field, their body language said it all. Chiefs players barely looked at one another, helmets clutched in silence. The Giants, though, looked like a pack of wolves ready to pounce, eyes flashing with the kind of fury that made even fans nervous. The kickoff to the third quarter felt less like football and more like the opening bell of a heavyweight fight. The Giants struck first, their quarterback threading a risky pass through double coverage for a touchdown. The stadium roared with disbelief. Cameras zoomed in on the Chiefs' defensive coordinator slamming his headset so hard it shattered. He stormed up to his cornerbacks, screaming, "How do you let that happen? Do you even care?" One of them snapped back, "You called the wrong play? That's on you." Suddenly, the Chiefs' sideline looked less like a team and more like a family in full collapse, each member pointing fingers to avoid blame. But the Chiefs weren't the only ones cracking. On the Giants' sideline, a quiet storm was brewing. Their star receiver refused to celebrate the touchdown, sitting alone on the bench. When asked by teammates what was wrong, he muttered, "Quarterback's playing hero ball. He'll hang me out to dry soon." His distrust was palpable. And fans watching at home started to wonder if the unity was just a mask waiting to slip back on the field. The Chiefs tried to answer. Their quarterback led a dramatic drive down the field, completing 3 passes in a row under immense pressure. Under immense pressure. UT just when it looked like they had regained control. Disaster struck. The wide receiver who had argued with him earlier dropped another crucial pass in the end zone. Boos rained down from Chiefs fans, and instead of consoling each other, the two men erupted again. "You can't throw straight." The receiver yelled while the quarterback fired back. "You're choking because you're scared." Teammates pulled them apart, but not before cameras captured every second dot in the stands. The families couldn't hide their emotions. The receiver's wife covered her face, shaking her head as fans around her whispered. The quarterback's father, visibly furious, was caught mouthing words that looked suspiciously like, "Trade him now." Nearby, Giants fans mocked the chaos, chanting insults that only fueled the fire. Security had to step in when 2 groups of fans nearly came to blows. A scuffle breaking out just rows away from the players' families. The Giants smelled blood and weren't about to let up. On their next possession, their running back bulldozed through the Chiefs' defense for a 40-yard touchdown. He spiked the ball with so much force it bounced back into his own chest, and then he pointed straight at the Chiefs' bench, yelling, "This is our house tonight." Chiefs defenders rushed toward him, sparking another confrontation. But referees jumped in just in time. The Chiefs coach, red-faced and shaking, screamed at his players to wake up and fight back. But instead of rallying, the team turned on each other. One lineman shouted that the play calling was predictable. Another snapped that the quarterback wasn't reading the defense. And yet another barked at the defense for not even trying. Fans watching live couldn't believe their ears as microphones on the field picked up the chaos, and then came the play that stunned everyone. The Giants quarterback threw a risky, deep ball that looked like it might be intercepted. The Chiefs cornerback leaped for it, but the ball bounced off his hands, right into the arms of the Giants receiver for another touchdown. The Chiefs sideline collapsed in despair, helmets flying, players shouting. The defensive captain stormed to the bench, kicking over a cooler, while the coach buried his head in his hands. Social media exploded. Fans tweeted that the Chiefs looked finished, that their dynasty was over, while others speculated about trades and firings before the season even ended. Giants fans were in ecstasy, posting clips of Chiefs players fighting and saying, "This is the drama we live for." But as the third quarter wound down, the unexpected happened. The Chiefs' star tight end, who had been unusually quiet all night, suddenly pulled the team together. Cameras caught him clapping furiously, shouting, "Shut up and play. I don't care who hates who, we're not going out like this." For the first time in the game, players seemed to listen. The quarterback and wide receiver exchanged a tense glance, then nodded reluctantly. The Chiefs began a desperate drive, each play fueled by raw anger more than strategy. Their running back broke tackles, their tight end caught passes in traffic, and slowly the crowd began to believe again. With just seconds left in the third quarter, the quarterback launched a laser into the end zone for a touchdown. The stadium erupted, and even though the score still favored the Giants, the momentum felt like it was shifting, but the drama wasn't finished. As the Chiefs celebrated, the Giants' defensive captain stormed up to his own coach, screaming, "We're losing focus. This is your fault." The coach shot back, "You think you know better? Then go call the plays yourself." Assistants rushed between them, but the damage was done. The Giants' sideline was suddenly split, its teammates whispering and shaking their heads. The third quarter ended with the scoreboard close. But the emotions even closer to the breaking point. Players glared at one another, coaches barked insults, and families in the stands looked like they were watching their loved ones unravel in front of the world. It wasn't just a game anymore. It was a public airing of every grudge, every resentment, every buried wound. And as the fourth quarter loomed, everyone knew the next 15 minutes wouldn't just decide who won the game. They would decide who survived the chaos and who would be left broken, betrayed, and exposed. The fourth quarter began with a kind of silence that felt heavier than noise. The crowd was buzzing, but underneath it all was a tense awareness that something bigger than football was unfolding. Both sidelines looked like powder kegs, and everyone wondered which one would explode first. The Chiefs, fueled by desperation, lined up for their opening drive, while the Giants' defense crouched low, snarling like predators. The Chiefs' quarterback dropped back, scanning the field, and for a brief moment it looked like the offense was finally clicking. He threw a sharp dart to his wide receiver, the same one he had clashed with all night miraculously. The receiver caught it. The two locked eyes after the play, and though no words were exchanged, the tension was unmistakable. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it was survival. The drive continued, each yard hard-fought, until the Chiefs found themselves at the Giants' 5-yard line. The quarterback kept the ball on a sneak, diving into the end zone to tie the game. The stadium shook with deafening roars. And for the first time that night, Chiefs fans felt hope again. But the celebration didn't last. The Giants' sideline erupted in chaos, with their defensive captain tearing into teammates for blowing coverages. "You're making me look like a fool out there," he yelled, his helmet half off as sweat poured down his face. One of his teammates barked back, "You're not the only one on this team." Coaches jumped between them, but the damage was spreading like wildfire on the Chiefs' sideline. The situation wasn't much calmer. Their offensive coordinator refused to congratulate the quarterback, muttering to an assistant he thinks he's the hero. But he's the problem. Unfortunately for him, cameras picked it up, and within minutes, fans online were already dissecting every lip movement. The quarterback, clearly aware of the slight, paced furiously along the sideline, refusing to sit down. The Giants took the field again, determined to silence the noise with action. Their quarterback, still glowing from his earlier success, fired 2 perfect passes that had fans screaming with joy. But then came the moment no one expected. On a crucial 3rd down, he tried to scramble for a first, only to be slammed to the turf by a Chiefs linebacker. He stayed down, clutching his shoulder as silence fell over the crowd. Giants players surrounded him, waving frantically for medical staff, while Chiefs fans gasped in shock. The quarterback eventually stood, grimacing as he walked off the field. But the damage was clear. The Giants' backup quarterback, unproven, nervous, and visibly shaken, was forced into the game. Immediately, fans sensed the shift. Chiefs defenders smirked, licking their lips at the prospect of an easy target. Giants fans, meanwhile, were torn between rallying for their new leader and fearing the worst. The Chiefs capitalized instantly. The backup quarterback fumbled his first snap, and Chiefs players pounced, recovering the ball deep in Giants territory. Within moments, the Chiefs scored again, taking the lead for the first time since the opening quarter. Their sideline erupted, but even in victory, cracks showed. The wide receiver who caught the touchdown refused to celebrate with the quarterback, walking away to bask in his own spotlight. Fans noticed, and the narrative grew. The Chiefs weren't united. They were simply surviving. Back in the stands, the families were unraveling. The Giants' quarterback's wife was seen in tears, comforted by friends as cameras zoomed in. The Chiefs' quarterback's brother shouted at fans who accused his sibling of being selfish, yelling back, "You don't know what he sacrifices." Security had to intervene as tempers flared in the Rose Dot with less than 7 minutes left. The Giants' backup quarterback shocked everyone. On 3rd down long, he launched a desperate pass downfield that somehow found the hands of his star receiver. The catch was miraculous, and the stadium erupted. Giants players rushed the field, embracing their backup like a hero. But not everyone was happy. The defensive captain sat alone on the bench, muttering under his breath, clearly unwilling to give credit. Cameras caught it, and speculation grew. Was he jealous of the attention? The drive ended with a Giants touchdown, tying the game once again. The score was even, but emotions were anything but balanced. Chiefs coaches screamed at referees over missed calls, while Giants assistants argued among themselves about whether to protect the backup quarterback or push him harder. It was chaos wrapped in strategy, a soap opera disguised as football. Then came the play that turned the stadium upside down. With 3 minutes left, the Chiefs quarterback threw a risky pass into double coverage. The Giants cornerback intercepted it, sprinting down the sideline as Chiefs fans groaned in disbelief. But just as he approached the end zone, the Chiefs wide receiver, the very one who had fought with the quarterback, chased him down, stripping the ball at the last second. The Chiefs recovered, saving the game, but instead of celebrating, the quarterback stormed over to the receiver. "You finally did something right." The quarterback sneered. The receiver snapped back. "I saved your career and you still can't give me respect." Teammates had to restrain them once again, and the argument overshadowed what could have been a heroic moment. Fans online exploded, debating whether the Chiefs were more dangerous to themselves than to their opponents. As the clock ticked down, both teams pushed for the win with everything they had left. The Chiefs mounted a desperate drive, their tight end making impossible catches while screaming at teammates to keep their focus. The Giants' defense, though, played with ferocity, stuffing the run and knocking down passes. With less than 30 seconds left, the Chiefs lined up for a potential game-winning field goal. The kicker jogged onto the field, but tension was already building. Giants players shouted insults, waving their arms to rattle him. Chiefs players stood on the sideline in silence, knowing this kick could define everything. The snap was good, the hold was clean, and the ball sailed into the air straight and true. The Chiefs took the lead with seconds to spare. The stadium exploded in chaos. Chiefs fans screamed with relief. Giants fans buried their faces in disbelief, and players on both sides erupted in raw emotion. The Giants' backup quarterback slammed his helmet in frustration, while the Chiefs' quarterback raised his fist, but not before casting a venomous glance at his receiver. The game wasn't over yet, but the tension was unbearable. Giants players huddled for one last chance, their coach screaming for focus. The Chiefs' defense crouched low, their captain yelling, "End it now!" It was the final showdown, and everyone knew whatever happened next would be remembered for years. And as the Giants lined up for the final play, the entire stadium held its breath, waiting to see if redemption or heartbreak would have the last word. The Giants lined up for what felt like the final chance at a miracle. The backup quarterback's hands trembled as he clutched the ball, his face pale under the lights. The crowd was deafening, a storm of cheers and boos crashing together in a wave of tension. The Chiefs' defense glared across the line, their captain screaming, "This is ours, right here." Right now, the snap came. The Giants' offensive line crumbled almost instantly. Chiefs defenders surging through like a tidal wave. The backup quarterback scrambled desperately, spinning away from one tackler, ducking another. Before heaving a desperate pass downfield, time seemed to freeze as the ball sailed through the night air, every fan in the stadium holding their breath. The Giants' star receiver leaped, stretching to the heavens, and the ball slipped just past his fingertips. The stadium erupted, half in joy, half in agony. The Chiefs had won, but the drama was only just beginning. As the clock hit 0, chaos broke loose. Chiefs players stormed the field, but instead of celebrating together, they split into factions. The quarterback pointed at his receiver, screaming, "We only won because I carried you." The receiver fired back, "You almost lost us everything. You're lucky I'm here." Teammates pushed them apart as cameras zoomed in, capturing every venom-filled word. Fans online were stunned. Even in victory, the Chiefs looked broken. On the Giants' sideline, emotions overflowed. Their backup quarterback sat on the bench, head in his hands, tears streaming down his face. The defensive captain stomped past him, muttering loudly, "You never had a chance." The Giants coach exploded, grabbing the captain by the jersey and snarling, "You think you're the leader? You're the cancer." Assistants dragged them apart as players stared in shock. Fans watching at home couldn't believe the meltdown they had come for football. But what they got was a full-blown family implosion. In the stands, the families mirrored the chaos. The Chiefs quarterback's father shouted at the receiver's brother, pointing a finger in his face and yelling, "He should be grateful my son even throws to him." The brother shot back, "Your son's a diva who'll tear this team apart." Security swarmed in as fans pulled out their phones, recording the fight that spread like wildfire across social media within minutes back on the field. The post-game handshakes were anything but cordial. The Giants coach refused to look the Chiefs coach in the eye, muttering something under his breath that cameras couldn't quite pick up. The Chiefs coach smirked, clapping sarcastically before walking away. The Giants quarterback, still nursing his shoulder, limped over to the Chiefs quarterback to exchange words. But what should have been a show of sportsmanship turned into another dramatic twist. "Enjoy your little win." The Giants quarterback sneered, "But everyone can see your team hates you." The Chiefs quarterback leaned in close, eyes blazing, and whispered, "At least I finish games." "You can't even stay on your feet." Giants players lunged forward, shoving Chiefs players, and for a moment it looked like an all-out brawl would erupt. Referees and staff rushed in, forming a barrier between the two teams as chaos engulfed the field once again. Reporters scrambled, shouting questions, their microphones catching fragments of fury. "He doesn't respect anyone," shouted the Chiefs receiver as he stormed past cameras. "They don't trust their own coach," a Giants assistant muttered under his breath. Fans online devoured every clip, turning the night into a social media circus. Hashtags about betrayal, implosion, and drama trended within minutes, overshadowing the actual score of the game. Inside the Chiefs' locker room, victory felt hollow. Players sat apart, refusing to speak, the air thick with resentment. The quarterback and receiver reportedly argued so loudly that coaches had to hold an emergency meeting to keep them separated. "Trade him before I quit," one shouted. "Good, I'm done carrying you," the other retorted. Staff members whispered nervously, fearing the fracture was beyond repair. Meanwhile, the Giants' locker room was no better. The defensive captain confronted the coach again, this time slamming his helmet into a locker and screaming, "You'll never win with your coward plays." The coach fired back, "And you'll never lead as long as you only care about yourself." Younger players looked on wide-eyed, wondering if the team they joined was about to collapse before their very eyes. By the time both teams left the stadium, the drama had spilled far beyond football. Fans crowded outside, chanting, arguing, and demanding answers. Reporters hounded families for comments, microphones shoved in faces already streaked with tears or twisted with anger. One Giants family member shouted they threw him under the bus, while a Chiefs family member countered, "At least we won your team's a joke." The spectacle had become bigger than the game. Bigger than the season, it was a saga of pride and betrayal unfolding in real time. Social media was relentless. Fans posted slow-motion replays of arguments, zoomed-in family feuds in the stands, and whispered rumors of trades and firings. Some claimed the Chiefs' locker room was beyond saving. Others insisted the Giants were doomed to implode before Week 4. Memes flooded timelines, turning serious moments into viral jokes, while analysts debated on live TV whether the NFL had ever seen such open dysfunction from two teams in a single night. And yet, beneath all the noise, one truth rang clear. This wasn't just a football game. It was a soap opera, a reality show disguised as Sunday night entertainment, and everyone watching was hooked. The Chiefs may have walked away with the win, but their unity was in shambles. The Giants may have lost the game, but they had exposed cracks so deep in Kansas City's foundation that fans everywhere wondered if the dynasty was finally crumbling as the stadium lights dimmed and the field emptied. One lingering image burned into everyone's memory: the Chiefs quarterback sitting alone on the bench, helmet in hand, staring into the void as teammates filed past him without a word. On the other sideline, the Giants' defensive captain stalked away from his own teammates, shaking his head and muttering, "They'll regret not listening to me." Two leaders, both consumed by pride, both abandoned by the very people they needed most. The night ended, but the questions were only beginning. What would happen to the Chiefs after such a public implosion? Would the Giants' locker room survive the fractures now laid bare? And perhaps most haunting of all were fans witnessing not just the end of a game, but the beginning of two legacies unraveling right before their eyes. And so, what started as a Week 3 matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants became something far more explosive than anyone could have predicted. Touchdowns and field goals faded into the background as betrayals, arguments, and raw emotions stole the spotlight. Fans were left stunned, families divided, and both teams exposed in ways that will haunt them for the rest of the season. The Chiefs may have won on the scoreboard, but the fractures in their locker room left supporters asking if this was truly a victory or the beginning of their downfall. The Giants, though defeated, ignited just as much drama, leaving questions about leadership, trust, and whether they can survive the pressure of the season. And now, the story is in your hands. What do you think? Was this the night the Chiefs dynasty finally started to crumble? Or just another chapter in their long reign? Did the Giants show enough fight to prove they're contenders? Or did the locker room chaos reveal a team doomed to implode? We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. If you've been glued to every twist and turn of this dramatic showdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next wild chapter in this unbelievable season. And most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? And what do you think happens next? Your voice keeps this conversation alive, and trust us, the drama is only just beginning.